In him do I live, move, and have my being. In him do I live, move, and have my being. Hey Facebook family, how are you doing on this magnificent Monday? And just wanted to share a magnificent message with you on this magnificent Monday. That the Lord still rules and he still reigns. Even when it looks like bad things happen to good people. We're in our second part of our series out of the book of Job. And last week we looked at Job's access, and we began to deal with what he had, who he was, and what he had, and what God did for him. And just the whole issue of him having wealth when it came to his character first. Then he had wealth when it came to his children. Then he had wealth when it came to a lot of commodities that he was blessed with camels and ox and she-goats and servants. And he was just large and in charge in the land called Uz. And he was known throughout the whole land. He was the most blessed person. Matter of fact, it speaks of it in terms in our human vernacular. He was the largest person in the East in Uz. It was amazing how much Job had been entrusted with. But nonetheless, we looked at this week, and you'll find in verse 6, and I think it's verse number 13 as well, it says, "Now when the day came," according to the New King James Version, "now when the day came," we began to realize that at that juncture in the book, it was a day that made a difference. And we looked at Job from this perspective, what a difference a day will make. And when the scene shifts from earth to heaven, unbeknownst to Job on earth, there was a dialogue with the divine and the demonic in glory. And there they began to discuss about Job. Most people, and a lot of commentaries I might add to, makes the emphasis of Job being attacked in the sense that he's a good person and bad things are happening to him. That's fine. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I don't think that's all that text is saying. I think the text really is speaking about, instead of Job being accused, I think the initial accusations and allegations was against God. It was Satan trying to accuse or skew the nature of God, the character of God, by questioning God's own omniscience. When the Lord asked him, he said, "Where you been?" He wasn't asking him that because he didn't know. He knew where he was. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was trying to do. And it's verified because before Satan even asked him what he was thinking about, God told him what he was thinking about and said, "Have you been considering my servant Job?" Yeah, he was considering the servant Job because he saw who Job was and what Job had. So much so that in the beginning of the conversation with the divine and the demonic, he said he was going to and fro throughout the earth, on the earth, in the earth. So he knew exactly who Job was. How could he not know? He was the greatest man in the East in that day. You could not drive by the East in Arabia, in the land of Uz, and not see Job's mansion sitting out there in the form of a tent in his day. You could not see how large his tent was or how large his home, his house was. It's amazing how wealthy he was, not just in substance, but also in self, in character. That's why he was blessed with substance, because he feared God, because he was upright, because he shunned evil. So I say to you, my brothers and my sisters, that we looked at that last week, the wealth of Job, when we looked at his assets and saw how wealthy he was. This week, we looked at the attack that was against Job, and that was through the adversary. He confronted God about taking Job for a test run. I shared with our congregation, with our family this week, and I'll share it with you as well. There was a time when I was a young man. I just got out of high school and I was buying my first car. And I went to go buy my first car, and I stopped at this dealer in Frankfurt in the Kensington area in Philadelphia. And went up there and saw this Dodge Coronet 318 small block. And went to the owner, the dealer, and asked him, hey, I see this car, it looks like a nice running car, but cars don't run on looks, so let me take it for a test run. I did. He let me take it for a test run. He gave me the keys. I went out and started it, and boy, did I take it for a test run. I put the pedal to the metal. I did it several times to see if it could stand up to the test. And I wound up buying that car. It was my first car that I ever bought back in the 70s, and it was a Dodge Coronet small block 318 Mopar. And I never will forget that dealer said to me something that literally revolutionized my way of thinking and my relationship with God. He said to me, I said, man, that car runs good because it stood up under my test. He said, young man, I would have never allowed you to take that car for a test if I didn't think it would pass the test. I never forgot that. And I just want to let you know, in form of application, when in light of the context of the book of Job, Satan came along and saw one of God's saints on his lot. And he asked God in a nutshell, can I take him for a test run? He looks like a Christian. He seems to be acting like a Christian, but I want to see if he's really a Christian. And I need for you to know, God would have never allowed Job to go through the test if God didn't know already he was able to stand up to it. I say to you in closing, God will never allow you or me to go through something that, one, doesn't get his permission that we can go through it or that we will go through it, and two, he must already know what the end's going to be like. He knows you, he knows me, and you don't ever have to doubt what God is able, or when God allows someone or something to put us through a test. He knows you more than what you know you and I know me. He knows us more than we know each other, because he made us. David said, he has searched me and known me. He even knows my thoughts from afar off. When you can't trace God's hand, you and I need to learn to trust God's heart, because he knows more about us than we could ever know about ourselves. God bless you. Pray that you have a blessed day. I'm going to say to you, as I normally say week after week, deuces, I'm out. Peace. Keep it real.
I'm nothing without you. So breathe.